This is Muhabura, a cone-shaped volcanic mountain located in the heart of the Western Rift Valley, southwest of Uganda. The formation of this volcanic mountain came about as a result of the tectonic forces that took advantage of the Earth's crust thousands of centuries ago. In fact, this current pyramid-like feature is a pile of fragmented rocks and ashes resulting from this violent explosion from the ground beneath us. These mountain ranges remained active for several years until the drums of turbulence were silent. These piles of ashes have since then enriched the soils here, sustaining the abundance of nature in the region. For many years now, these rich fertile soils have sustained thousands of lives of the local communities here. The Bafumbira and the minority Batwa communities have settled on the slopes of these magnificent volcanic features for thousands of centuries now. The mountain gorilla, the closest relatives of humans, have also found a refugium in this tropical rainforest, which forms a skirt-like belt on the basement of the conical peaks of Muhabura, Gahinga, and Sabinyo. Mountain gorillas evolved with the rise of the volcanoes 500,000 years ago. The steep ridges and deep valleys of Africa's oldest rainforest hide much more than just the gorillas. It is a home to the Batwa community, commonly known as the Pygmies. They roamed the forest looking for fruits and honey, and hunted with bows and arrows. The meaning of these peaks is hidden in their names. Muhabura, which the natives call the guide, is a natural landmark which offers guidance from all directions of the hilly and rugged terrain of Mugahinga. Gahinga, which simply means a pile of stones, stands between Muhabura and Sabinyo, which literally means the old man's teeth. But to understand this, you need to climb one of these steep mountains up to the top, from where you are able to view all the features from above. We start our journey from Ntebeko, the headquarters of Mugahinga National Park. The climbers have to navigate across the tedious slippery volcanic rocks scattered everywhere along the path, characterized with a steep gradient right from the roadhead across shrubs and thickets until the tropical forest belt or the mountain foothills.
We need 5 hours going up and 3 coming down. That is for the quickest speed. On this mountain you have 2 resting huts. First resting hut at 3,116 meters above the sea level. The second one is at 3,855 meters above the sea level.
First, the trail takes us across the thick forest of numerous valleys, rivers and swamps. At this altitude, herbs and shrubs palatable to the mountain gorilla are a common sight. Then we begin to ascend on a steeper gradient, where using a ladder is inevitable. the thick bushes begin to open to scattered vegetation, composed of tall trees entangled in a cobweb of lianas, where forest buffaloes are a common sight. The mountaineers here have to contour around the mountain forest to minimize fatigue. Then higher and higher we climb until we reach the first tourist hut at an altitude of 3,116 meters above sea level. Minutes later, we begin to navigate through a diversity of medium altitude vegetation. The trees here are trapped in a thick cobweb of lichens and heath. At the same altitude of the sister mountain Rwenzori, these features begin to surface around Nyamuleju, a local description for bearded trees. Then, the forest begins to open before us, where we are able to sight Kisoro town and her surrounding community settlements. It is here that you are able to sight features like Lake Mutanda and Mulehe if the sky is clear. And right in the middle of Kisoro panorama is the Gisozi cone-shaped hills with an empty crater on top. We enter the fern and bamboo zone. This is now at an altitude of 2,400 meters above sea level.
Those are bamboo, and as we continue ahead, there is a zone which is occupied by bamboo. So this is the beginning of the bamboo zone.
And on the right, we begin to see the other sister volcanoes of Gahinga and Sabinyo, towering in the skies. Gahinga, the shortest of them all, stands at 3,474 meters above sea level. And in the background, along the western border with the Democratic Republic of Congo, is her sister volcano of Sabinyo, shooting up to 12,000 feet above sea level. And the tropical rainforest of Mugahinga opens below us as we ascend higher. Then higher and even higher through the fog and misty air, temperatures begin to drop, getting us cooler and cooler. But for the vegetation, the higher you go, the shorter it grows. And several meters above the clouds, the gradient even gets steeper and steeper. It is here that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Marvelous. What is there to be seen? Sorry. How is it up there?
It's cool. It's cool, as I said. It's fantastic. I just should go there.
This kind of climb is only requires great expertise. Abawara barisewa
Omuwara umusize kayumba agasoka ajaganja ajakomawo
buzibu ki
embaraga ntono.
So rough, so slippery, so interesting. That's the cloud.
Aravuze ngo kuma hariya. Hari kukazu. Ari kugarukira ku kazu. Yakuyari munsi y'akazu.
The cloud. Very fast. and very cold here. We are now on the level where the clouds fly over Muhabura. Biribiti. Yeah, hakibazo. Until the vegetation can rarely exceed the height of a 3-year-old baby. It is here that we begin to push through thick rain clouds that usher in an excellent breeze to refresh our strength. And apart from compromised visibility, the clouds begin to disconnect us from the lower ground below us, which makes hiking Muhabura a true adventure. And then we begin to climb above the clouds, where high altitude vegetation like the giant lobelia mix up well with the everlasting flowers. Then all of a sudden, a radio message drops in, warning us of the threatening downpour. Oh, Karaja. Back home in Kisoro, seems to be raining already. But since we are above the clouds, we are out of danger. Even the height of these lobelias begins to dwindle as we climb higher and even higher, until the two sister volcanoes and the clouds begin to be sighted from below us.
In the background, we have two volcanoes. This first one is called Mount Gahinga, and it stands at the altitude of 3,474 meters. And on top, what you see right there is a crater swamp. So it has got a crater swamp, and it is one of the volcanoes that make Mugahinga Gore National Park. Then further in the background, we have Mount Sabinyo, which means the old man's teeth, and it is shared by the three countries, Uganda, Rwanda, and Congo. For Gahinga, it is shared by Uganda and Rwanda. Similarly, Muhabura, it is also shared by Uganda and Rwanda.
But stronger mountaineers have to maintain the pace up to the top through steep gorges and sharp cliffs where deploying tools like ropes and ladders is inevitable. The vegetation here is typically high altitude of giant lobelias and their cousins senecios, typical of alpine nature.
This kind of vegetation, it is sort of subalpine, where we have heath and moorland. You can get this vegetation in Europe, but here it is, we call it subalpine because it is not exactly that one of Europe. But because the temperatures are low, as you can even see, it is surviving in this area. Then these other trees that you see in, we call them giant lobelias. And when they are flowering, they may have a very beautiful flower, and they are adding to the attractiveness of the place.
So we are climbing even further and further until we reach our final destination. This is the kind of vegetation on top of Muhabura. At this level, 3,974 meters above sea level, the scenery is fascinating. Stronger mountaineers will climb even higher and higher across this medieval vegetation of short grass and the everlasting flowers, through steep valleys and gorges, until our last destination. And finally, the arrival at the peak of Muhabura at 4,127 meters and 13,500 feet above sea level. We are able to reach the Muhabura Caldera, a volcanic lake resting on the topmost altitude of southwestern Uganda. It is here that the climbers are able to see the whole of Rwanda up to Kigali when the sky is clear. This point too marks the natural border point between Uganda and Rwanda.
So Uganda, Rwanda and Congo, they all share the same ecosystem, and that's why even the animals are also transboundary. It was a very wonderful experience, especially at the top of the Muhabura volcano. When you're on the top, you are on the border is Uganda and Rwanda, and the top is decorated by a beautiful crater lake. It's 36 meters wide and 6 meters deep. It's very interesting. It's very fresh water, and this is the water which I've drawn from the crater lake. It's very fresh and it is malaria free. So I'm going with it, and I will go on taking it to remember the experience at the top of the crater.